I wanted to take just a moment to kind of recap. This has been a huge day. We started out, we heard from our new president and got new ideas on sustainability. We listened to Ben share some ideas on sustainability and what it means to really kind of formalize it and institutionalize sustainability here at the university. We went on and we listened in and broke into some subgroups and in our own dialogues had an opportunity to talk about an aspect of what sustainability means in a more targeted way. That allowed us to, I hope, gain some new ideas and some new perspectives. From there, we came back after lunch and listened to not only the reflection of kind of what our own conversations were when we condensed it and summarized it, but also a sense of what others were saying and sharing in their conversations. We've also had guest speakers this afternoon about distribution systems and sustainable energy, leadership studies, and what buildings on campus can look like and may look like in the future. And it was, I think, very helpful. We've had new ideas, new interpretations, new perspectives, new approaches that we've listened to today. And so that's what I'd like to do very quickly, is just listen to you, if you would share an aha. An aha! This is new. This is a new adventure traveling into previously unused gray matter. An epiphany. Wow, I never quite thought of it that way before. What are some strong takeaways that you have gathered or would like to share from our conversations here thus far today? Sue, did you have one?
Well, yes, I do.
Oh, great. I thought you might. This should...
Well, good afternoon. I'd like to thank who put on this wonderful day and all those who stepped forward to be a facilitator and a presenter. It was a lot of work. We had all these ideas, and to bring them into something you could actually define. Thank you. And I think what I take away is it's a wonderful, big opportunity to grow together as a university and do something to save the earth. And I think that the timing's right. I think the students are interested. And we just have to work with those students to do it in a way that they want to receive it and be a part, and we need to be a part of what they want to do. And this SEA organization, is anyone a part of that here? Okay, I went to an evening dinner that was really good like this, and the students are doing this. I mean, we don't have to think of ideas. They're out there doing it. They're doing a farm and recycling and getting the dorm things that usually end up in the alleys after the semester. They're doing a swap and trade. They're really organizing a lot of things that are already working. So we don't really have to think of new things. We can just help them do what they have already got going. So anyway, I think education's a key from the faculty to staff to students, and learning the process of overcoming barriers. And it'd be interesting if we all thought of one thing we could do.
That's next.
Oh, okay. And then that we could actually commit to doing in, like, say, just before the first of the semester, something to begin the semester with, and actually do it. That would be
excellent.
Great. So thank you.
No, thank you. That's very good. A lot of the takeaways, while there is some good action going on, I really like that commitment to action. Marcy.
Thank you. Years ago, when I got my education in architecture, we were talking a lot about defining the problem. And so not to just, when a client comes to you and says, I need a house, you would go back and say, oh, are you looking for a place to sleep, or are you looking for a place to entertain your friends, or, and understand more about that problem. I heard that same thing today when the leadership group talked about triage, that one of the most important things we could do when people are presented with a problem would be to just try to redefine it in a way that addresses the environment, the social aspects, and the economic aspects. And that was an important connection for me. Another thing I heard was the circling through issues. So when we participated in the 1970s in the first Earth Day, we really did talk about environmental issues. And I think this is exciting because on this circle back through those issues, we're really expanding it to sustainability. And I think incorporating a wider variety of issues than we may have addressed before. And I see that as some of the learning process in that circle.
Excellent. That's a great reflection. And also we recognize that the sustainability of our sustainable changes require a broader perspective and a broader approach sometimes. So good reflections. Another, maybe something that resonated with you, or a new way of looking at a perspective that came about from today. Larry, while I walk down, I do want to recognize Erica Embody is our ICDD coordinator, and she's recording. Thank you, Erica.
One of the things that I will share is that as we talk about this leadership studies building and any other building, we hope it'll serve the needs for 50 years or 60 years or 100 years. And so from that standpoint, the sustainability issues and the operating cost and ongoing cost, they become important in terms of doing that. And so if we put up some windmills and have wind power, and if those windmills are able to last 50, 60 years, well, that's valuable as well. But I think that one of the things we sometimes don't think about too much is the longevity of some of the things we work with, in terms of we tend to think over the short term, but when there are lots of things we do that have rather long-term implications, and from a sustainability standpoint, it's good for us to appreciate that and think in those terms as being one aspect of decision-making.
Excellent. Good point. Excellent. I think there's a John Mayer song about think like a mountain. Anybody know that song? No? The time perspective of you know the song, or you have an idea? Oh, hey, all right.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I want to hear you start singing. So an aha moment for me, I suppose, is in our leadership discussion group, we were, I don't know, yammering on, I suppose, trying to identify a variety of concerns and challenges to effective leadership, and one of the students in our group was quite concerned that we did not provide a very strong direction for action, specific things, outcomes, and practical outcomes, and that was one of the things that a number of people from the 2009 Sustainability Conference in January here that complained that there was not enough of that either. And I think that I suppose an aha or a conclusion is that we really do need to challenge ourselves in these dialogues to have things that people can take away and do in a relatively immediate fashion, kind of like Sue was saying, action items, things that people can commit to, or further action items. So that's definitely a challenge to us, I think, when we organize these. But at the same time, I think there is a great value and richness to dialogue and an open-ended conversation and reflection. And so I suppose what I'm trying to say is that continues to present attention in our communications, is the need for reflection on our situation and successes and failures and interests, and then also the need to be proactive and providing solid guidance for action and organizing.
Excellent. I think you're right on. Let me collect one or two more thoughts, and then we'll move on to really thinking about that action step. That's so important. So much of what happens here is additive. We may have an idea or a pretty solid concept of something when we came in, but all of a sudden it starts to change. It's a little malleable. New ideas hit it and it changes shape a little bit or transforms. Maybe it's that transformational learning that all of a sudden things kind of all fall in place. Are there any other kind of reflections from today that either kind of a profound, something that struck you that you'd like to share, or something key that you'd like to highlight as before we move on with other aspects? Yeah, a couple. Good.
Question.
Okay.
You work with communities a lot, and my question is, what are the communities needing with respect to sustainability? If K-State is going to help the communities in Kansas, what do we need to be doing to help them with sustainability issues?
That's a great question about what do we need to do for communities with sustainability issues. And I think, and this is not law, but what I've noticed is that the decision making tends to be directed by kind of reflexology and not really thought about in long term. I hosted a listening session with county commissioners and city administrators. It's been about 2 or 3 years ago. But ask them how they make their decisions. And basically, it's because someone brings a proposal to them or an idea that they then need to respond to. And much of their decision making was based on often the economics, sometimes the political implications of that decision, sometimes environmental considerations, but rarely did they ever have kind of a unified process of thinking about what we've been talking about today, is that triple bottom line, or what are the social, political, economic, environmental ramifications of whatever kinds of decisions we make for the long term. And I don't know that they have a clear and maybe very applicable process to use to continually remind them to go through that thinking as they do decision making. I think that's one of the tools that I hear people saying, you know, that really would be good. Now, we all say, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But then what's difficult is that in our own day-to-day decision making, the situation sweeps us up and we respond. And we don't always, you know, do a very thorough, reflective decision-making process. So there are challenges there, but I think that is something, that decision-making process, looking at multiple ramifications of what the long-term implications of those decisions may be, and then kind of a considered process to make those decisions is very important. And yeah.
We've had a significant event in Greensburg and what's happening there, and do you see that impacting other communities in terms of trying to emulate that, or getting more communities to think about sustainability more than they did before?
That's a great question, and what I loved about that is that Greensburg didn't just respond and say, how quickly can we get things slapped back together and back on the road again. They did take time to think about what do we want to become and how do we want to go about it. I think they did a nice job of really long-term decision making, rather than just reacting to a quick disaster. They responded in a very thoughtful and planned way. Is it making a difference to other communities that I've worked with? I think it will. I'm not sure that the story has been captured and retold in such a way yet that others will look at it and say, hey, this is really good, and there are some things that lessons that we really need to learn and things we need to emulate from this. But I think that's going to happen. Thus far, I'm not sure that a lot of the communities that I've been working with really know the inside story of what all has happened there yet. So I think it's got that potential. And I wanted to get to Don.
Do we need to find somebody like you to help get that story out? In other words, should K-State maybe help to tell the story so that we communicate that?
Okay, so Larry's making me work here, and he's laying it all out. I think Tim Steffensmeyer's. Tim's still here too, would be good. No, you're right. There is a story there, and it is a powerful story, and there are a lot of lessons and takeaways that can be learned and applied from that. And yeah, I do think that our K-State extension system may really think about how do we monopolize on that and utilize it. Donna, did you have a question? Or a comment, or a thought, or a reflection?
I had an aha moment.
Oh, good.
My aha moment was when the diagram of the building showed parking spaces that were only for vehicles with low emissions. That was a big aha moment because it was voluntary, it's symbolic, and it teaches people that it might be good to have on the campus a very special space. We are a unique community. Campuses in the United States are like parks. They're generally not just like any residential neighborhood or industrial area. And we are demonstration sites. It occurs to me that that next step from showing that we sort of create a very special space would be an expansion of that notion to the whole perimeter of the walkable campus. If we were to decide that it's politically important, it's a demonstration to say that other than necessary delivery vehicles, we're going to designate streets and parking lots across the central campus only for low emission, then maybe we could see what would happen. It might be the next step towards saying we're going to have a campus that's going to be for pedestrian bicycles. But you could start at that level of parking by a special kind of parking for certain sorts of cars. Call it privilege, call it... But I think that was a very good first step, and I hope it gets imitated by other parking spaces and planning.
Excellent. And that is also kind of a good segue because that's something that was done. And I keep hearing people saying, yeah, but we need to detail what is it that we can do. We've provided everyone a card, and if you didn't get a note card, we'll give you one. But what we'd like you to do is reflect on and write down on your card what is it that you will do with these thoughts or ideas or inspiration from today. This is also to help us know what's been the impact of having a dialogue on sustainability. What has this really sparked in you in terms of your thoughts or commitment to some action or to some way of helping really promote, encourage, and forward this concept of sustainability. So what I'd like you to do is on that card, if you could, write down what you'll do with these thoughts or ideas from today. This is a card that I'd like to keep. I'd like us to be able to collect again and say, hey, look at some of these great ideas. But I don't, by keeping the card, don't want to take the ideas from you. I'd also like you to kind of record this in your own thinking or in your own, for your own purpose as something that you're willing to commit to and forward as we leave. You can write that on those cards. I'll be quiet for a little bit, but if anyone, in addition to writing it on the card, would like to say, hey, I don't want to just write it down, I'm willing to share that idea, I'd also be open to hearing a couple of ideas that people would like to share of how this has inspired them to move forward. Marie, did you get a card? Okay. Yeah, okay. This is to record thoughts or ideas that we'd like to commit to based on ideas that we've heard or something that we'd like to carry forward from today's conference. And we will collect those. Actually, you can just leave them at your spot if you would. And I'll give you a few minutes to keep thinking and recording. But is there anyone that would like to give voice to your idea? I'm on my way.
It seems the only thing we can do short term from this is to evaluate how we use food, water, shelter, energy, and resources, because we're all consumers and we just need to evaluate how we use it. In long term, we need to develop more responsible policies, but short term, we can all do that.
That's great. Thank you. You know, I used to feel really guilty about my consumption. And then it struck me one day that I am a consumer, and that's what keeps me alive. I need to consume energy to continue on. And so then the question shifted from feeling guilty about being a consumer to what is it that I'm going to give back with the energy that I'm consuming and the space I'm taking and the resources I'm using. How am I going to use that in an effective way to really pay back to the system? Any other thoughts, questions, or ideas that you'd like to share? Yeah.
Yeah, this has been it's been a good session, and it's been inspiring to me. And I think one thing that I can do from my home office is every day when I go into my office, stop and take a few minutes and say, well, what am I going to do today that's sustainable, and actually make a daily sustainability plan. And that might be just giving extra thought to how am I going to reduce my waste today, or how am I going to reduce my energy use today. And if you make I've found if I make an action plan, and then usually it's a lot easier to follow through and take it one step at a time.
Excellent. Good feedback, good ideas. Donna, we'll have one more comment, and then I'd like to turn it back to Larry to wrap up here.
I can't resist this advertising moment. I coordinate Movies on the Grass, and we're going to be showing a film called Garbage Warrior about Michael Reynolds, the architect in New Mexico who develops Earth ships. We hope that you'll turn out. It'll be the third Sunday after school starts. You'll start seeing signs, and you can go to our website when it gets updated this week. It's www.ksu.edu/moviesonthegrass. But that's an important film. Charlotte Brownson here has arranged for a UFM class following the showing of the Garbage Warrior that's going to be on housing, sustainable housing, or ways to make your dwelling much more sustainable that a community member is offered to teach. So
Saturday following.
The Saturday after the 13th of September. No.
Where do we find it?
The 13th. Movies on the Grass. Movies on the Grass is one word after www.ksu.edu.
Movies on the Grass, excellent. All right, good commercial. Thank you. Larry?
I want to thank Dan and Erica for helping us with this part of the program, and we do want to bring things to a close so people can take down their posters and do whatever else they want to. And I want to thank all of you for being here and staying to the end. I want to thank all the people who helped put this together, and especially Oral Salters and Wendy Griswold and Sherry Walsh, who's been outside doing things today in terms of registration and so forth. But those people put a lot of effort in, and Ryan for the electronic help today. Thank you for that. And Ben for your leadership and your help with what we do in our group with CSAS, but also for what you do for the university. And we'll work to try and make it a great partnership to keep going together. So I want to thank everybody, and I'll just close with one more aha that came to me today. I came to Kansas State University in 1957 as a sophomore student and got my bachelor's degree here, and then stayed here on the faculty, and I've been a number of places on sabbatical, University of California, Berkeley. I've been in Czechoslovakia and Russia, and a month at MIT, and various places. And as I was reflecting today, since 1957, I've been able to walk to work that whole time, and I've done that a lot. And so those of you who've had long commutes, I haven't shared much in that. My long commutes, when I was in Philadelphia at the University of Pennsylvania for a year, my long commute was to walk over to the 30th Street station and catch the train into New York City for a meeting, and then come back that evening. And so I saw the commuters as they got on the train and went into New York City to work. And so I've had a little bit of that type of experience. But I've been thankful that I've had the opportunity to walk to work. And I tell people that it's a form of waste minimization, and you can spell waste either way. So thank you.